Hey everyone, my name is Eric Hopkins, aka JEL. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, after a week that I thought was a little bit weaker with AEW when it comes to the release of the All In Brawl footage from CM Punk and Jack Perry, I thought AEW came back with a good week and a half, 2 weeks worth of pro wrestling here from AEW Dynamite last week that I got to go to, which I thought was a great show. And of course, that leads into this week, which I thought was a big week for AEW. I'd be remiss if I didn't touch a little bit upon AEW Dynasty that took place this last Sunday. I thought the build up to the show was pretty good, all things considered. There was a few matches I thought was a little bit weaker when it comes to the storyline build up to it, like off the Osprey Brian Danielson match. At the end of the day, that really had no effect on the outcome of the match and how great it was, which I'll get into in just a second. But I thought overall AEW Dynasty was a successful show. Had a lot of great things happen. We had Willow Nightingale win the TBS Championship, setting up her feud with Mercedes Monet going into Double or Nothing. We got the return of Adam Cole. Looks like he's able to at least walk to some degree. Looked like he was limping a little bit on Dynamite this following Wednesday here, but hopefully that means good things for him going down the line. Everybody was wondering why AEW released the all-in footage because they felt like it really didn't do a whole lot to build the drama and the match between the Young Bucks and FTR. But now we know exactly why Tony Khan did it. All right, it wasn't so much to kind of put the truth out there. It was because they were ready for the return of Jack Perry from New Japan Pro Wrestling to come back and, of course, to show the footage between Jack Perry and CM Punk fighting it all in. It kind of gives credence to the reasons why Jack Perry is acting the way he is, and he's the scapegoat now, and all that storylines that went in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which they also highlighted on Dynamite this week after Dynasty. So there's reasons behind the madness there. So at least it was nice to see that there was a reason why they did it to begin with. Obviously, we also had Swerve Strickland finally becoming the first African American world champion here in AEW. It only took them 5 years, even though it took WWE upwards of 30 years to crown their first WWE champion. That was an African American. So good for Swerve Strickland. Very well deserved. A lot of people were saying, Samoa Joe didn't have a very long title run, but I think it actually served the title well, because it doesn't matter to me so much how long you hold the belt. It's what you do with the belt when you have it. And I think Samoa Joe did a great job. But Swerve Strickland is your new AEW world champion. But of course, the biggest thing that happened on AEW Dynasty, and that's not to take away from Pac and Okada. Great match. The six-man tag with Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe versus the House of Black was also fun. Obviously, the Young Bucks and FTR, and the ladder match was great. The show was great top to bottom, but the match that stood out more than anything else was, of course, Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. If you have not seen this match, I'm sure you have at this point, but if you have not, go back and watch it. And even if you have seen it, go back and watch it again and again and again. I cannot rave about that match enough. That match was, to me, easily the best match of 2024 so far. Very well could be the best match of the decade here. So yeah, I mean, there's very few matches that hit that level of intensity, that level that will keep you from interested from starting point to end point. Of course, the match with Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson ended with the two going nose to nose in opposite quarters, and they ran to each other in the middle to see who would strike first. Will Ospreay got the better of Danielson there. Then he picked him up for a Tiger Driver 91. He dropped Danielson on his head supposedly, which then caused Bryan Danielson to quiver on the mat, looking like he possibly could have been severely injured. He even got me at one point. I thought maybe that he was legitimately hurt. Then, of course, the camera kept focusing on him. Normally, when a pro wrestler is legitimately hurt, they won't focus on him like that. But then, of course, Will Ospreay acting like he didn't. Obviously, he didn't see the referee kind of adhere to him there. Then he hit him with the hidden blade for the win there. A great finish, great match. And like I said, it appeared to be obviously a work, no doubt about it. I think everybody at this point realizes it's a work now, but at the time it was very, very scary. They even shot a backstage thing where Will Ospreay was kind of helping the referees help Bryan Danielson to the back. And of course, Ospreay felt very remorseful in the post show media scrum where he said he would never use the Tiger Driver 91 again out of fear of hurting someone like he did Danielson. So Ospreay's doing a great job with this babyface role. He's going to be the biggest babyface in the company. Looks like they're going to be kind of doing a bit of a slow build with him leading up to the world title at some point, probably down the line, maybe later this year. But for now, it makes sense for Ospreay to kind of have to work his way up the ranks a little bit. And we got a little bit of a tease where that's going to go. But like I said, outstanding match between Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. One of the best matches you're going to see in your life, possibly top 10, top 20 all time. There's also so many matches to go over throughout the years, but for this year alone, It's easily the match of the year as of this point. Obviously, we got a long time to go before the end of 2024, so we'll have to wait and see if it still holds that title at the end of the year. But right now, AEW Dynasty, that match alone made it worth the price of admission. So, like I said, if you have not seen that match, by all means, go check it out and don't hesitate to watch it multiple times. So, with AEW Dynasty in the books, we obviously got the stage set for AEW Dynamite this week. Pretty good card on paper, I thought. I tell you, AEW Dynasty, it was you didn't really see a whole lot of detractors out there with the show overall, I thought. But this show tonight, boy, it wasn't no sooner than over, and everybody online was complaining. I swear, you guys cannot be pleased. All right, look, if WWE was doing the stuff AEW was doing, you all be praising it, okay? There was nothing wrong inherently with this show tonight. Okay. I have a hard time finding much wrong with it. Was it the best Dynamite show they've ever done? No. But it's like AEW has to hit the ball out of the park every single week, or people online are just saying it's a failure and the company should die. It's really, really annoying at this point for anybody who watches pro wrestling in general. Just because it's not WWE does not make it a bad show. I honestly think a lot of these people online are just getting online to just crap on the show. They don't even watch it at this point. Even if they do, they just all they do is watch it to nitpick it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This show was a fun show, and actually, I thought it did a great job of building intrigue for the future here. So, I just get sick and tired of all the negativity, which we'll get into as we get into it a little bit here. But yeah, I thought the show looked good on paper. The show opened up with Trent Beretta, just attacking Orange Cassidy here, kind of drug him out to the ring and then demanded that Chuck Taylor come down there and kind of, decide between, Orange and Trent. And, so Trent was like, give the people what they want. He went in for a hug. And that's, of course, when, Chuck Taylor tried to take a shot at Trent Brennan. He's like, I always thought you were an asshole. And then, he just kind of tried to, you know, tried to get into a brawl there with Trent Beretta, and of course Trent bailed like the cowardly heel that he is. So apparently it seems like Chuck Taylor has chosen sides here, and it looks like he's going to be siding with Orange Cassidy, or at least he's not siding with Trent Beretta at least. So I don't know exactly where this is going, but it's nice to see Trent Beretta get a heel run here. Didn't do a whole lot to further that beyond the fact that we know exactly kind of where Chuck Taylor stands now. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is cool. Nothing major when it comes to this storyline here, but I thought there was nothing inherently wrong with it either. It just kind of shows more about what's going to be going on with Trent in the future. And as of course, he's going to be doing a singles run. So hopefully they'll push him a little bit. We'll get him maybe in some mid card feuds as well, and we'll see him. And obviously, I would assume this will eventually lead to Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy at Double or Nothing. So yeah, so I'm sure we'll get a payoff for it at that pay per view coming up at the end of May. We also got Swerve Strickland uh, kind of defending his title here in an eliminator match. The title wasn't exactly on the line, but it was an eliminator match against Kyle Fletcher of the Don Callis family. Kyle Fletcher, I see this is where the negativity started. Even before the show started and they announced this match, everybody was complaining about Kyle Fletcher. Why is he getting an opportunity to compete for the AEW World Championship, even though he has to beat Swerve to get that opportunity? But people want to talk about how Kyle Fletcher has not won a match since like late last year. That's only if you've been watching AEW programming only. If you've been watching Ring of Honor, which is all part of the same thing here, Ring of Honor, the wins and losses matter there, and then it goes toward their overall record when it comes to AEW as well. So Kyle Fletcher is the Ring of Honor television champion. He's been winning matches over there almost all the time. Now, granted, if you only watch AEW, you wouldn't know that. But Tony Khan books his shows. He could be tying in New Japan stuff, CMLL stuff, Ring of Honor stuff. He could be tying in all that stuff. He trusts his fans to be smart enough to understand that there are more things going on than just what's happening on AEW television every week. So he understands that most fans will actually pay attention to that other stuff as well, and he incorporates those storylines and what's going on in other companies in his company as well. So those of you who are confused, it's just because you're not in the loop on certain things. Now, a lot of people would argue that that's AEW's job to tell you what's going on, and a lot of times, if you listen to commentary, they do tell you that. But the Kyle Fletcher stuff, like I said, just got all sorts of unrealistic hate before the show even started. Not only that, as soon as this match started, they're like, "Why is Swerve Strickland not cutting a promo in celebration of his world title and getting a match on Dynamite?" Because this is where the greatest wrestlers and the best wrestle, according to them. It's their own tagline. Swerve Strickland wants to be a pro wrestler. Yes, the WWE formula would have the new champion come out and cut this long-winded promo, and where I'm going in the future now, I'm going to be a fighting champion, blah 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 blah. Not every company does that, and it's perfectly okay if they don't do that. Swerve Strickland had a good match here. Looked like he might have tweaked his ankle a little bit, so that's a little concerning. So, I mean, and I understand that sometimes the allure of the champion is to not have them wrestle on the show every single week. But this is the first, week that since he's won the title. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of him, being a little bit aloof, as it were, and kind of not being on every single show every week after this week. We'll have to wait and see. But I had no trouble and no problem with Swerve Strickland wrestling on his first Dynamite after winning the title. That's perfectly fine with me. And not only that, Kyle Fletcher's a great young up and coming talent, and they had a good match. So I thought this was fun. Nothing wrong with it. I think people just need, again, to stop being so miserable and quit complaining about every single little thing that happens. So yeah, it's just like, they put on good wrestling matches for you guys, and you guys want to complain about it. So it's just like it gets old. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with what they did here, and I'm sure Swerve will have a good title run. It's just getting started, guys. Be a little patient. That's all I ask. After this, we got the announcement that Kenny Omega will be returning to Dynamite next week. Obviously, I don't think he's ready to come back from his illness. He had diverticulitis that he had to get taken care of, which could have actually killed him. It's the same sort of thing that Brock Lesnar had to go through at one point. But it's good to at least see that Kenny Omega will be on the show. I don't know how that's going to tie in with everything, including potentially the main event angle that happened here on Dynamite. We'll have to wait and see till next week. But in Winnipeg, it makes sense to bring him back. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. It's been a while since we've seen him on television, so I hope he's doing well, and hopefully we'll get to see him a little bit. But like I said, don't expect him to be ready to return to wrestling just yet. Very well could be, but as far as we know, he's not ready to come back just yet. But I still can't wait to hear his theme song and see him come out and at least be a part of the show. So that's good to see, if nothing else. After that announcement, we of course got some women's segments here on the show. We had Willow. Y'all wanted a champion to come out and celebrate their victory, right? Well, here come Willow Nightingale. She got this spot tonight, so maybe Tony Khan felt that it would be too much to have Swerve do the same thing. Now I get Swerve is your world champion. If you think that maybe he should have had that moment and not Willow, fine, whatever. But this was obviously to be building up to Double or Nothing for Willow versus Mercedes Moné here. They definitely talked about how Willow questioned Mercedes whether or not she blames her for her injury, and Mercedes, even though she didn't come out right out and say it, she clearly does. So they got nose to nose here. And the most intriguing thing about this, of course, was the fact that when Mercedes turned to walk away, Chris Statlander, who was standing there next to him, grabbed Mercedes' arm to turn her around, and Mercedes turned around and slapped the taste out of Willow's mouth because she thought Willow was the one who grabbed her arm, not Chris Statlander. So that tells me right there that my theory is probably true. My theory for the last few weeks is that Chris Statlander, not Julia Hart, is the one who attacked Mercedes Moné and attacked Willow Nightingale last week. So I think we're going to be getting maybe a Chris Statlander heel turn. Obviously, this look from Stokely Hathaway is also intriguing as well. Kind of like, we're going to play both sides here. So it sounds like Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander could still be a pairing. And of course, Chris Statlander had that moment with Trent Beretta where he whispered in Statlander's ear. So again, maybe she's got a little bit of Trent Beretta's influence in her head right now. So I think that's what's going to happen here, and it appears more and more, especially after this segment, that is going to be the case. So I could possibly see Chris Statlander maybe getting involved in this title match at Double or Nothing. I don't know. Or maybe she wants the winner, or maybe it'll end up being a triple threat match or a trios or however they call it here, a three-way match in AEW. They don't use the triple threat moniker. But either way, I think Chris Statlander turning heel could be good for her character as well. So yeah, a lot of intrigue built into this. And I know everybody's like, well, Mercedes Moné has not competed in a match in AEW yet. Why is she automatically getting a title match here in AEW? That's fair, but I think a lot of it is because she's just not medically ready to go just yet, but she should be ready to go by May 26th at Double or Nothing. So we'll see where they go with it. But again, if you're going to be angry at that with Mercedes Moné right now, keep the same energy when CM Punk comes back, and he's probably going to be challenging Drew McIntyre for a world title whenever Drew McIntyre wins it back before CM Punk's return. So if Punk hasn't earned it in WWE, keep that same energy. I'm just going to say that right here, right now. You got to be fair both ways, but if you're going to be okay with CM Punk doing that, you should have no problem with this here as well. At the end of the day, guys, this is a show. You can criticize it, have fun with that. That's all you well can. But at the same time, it's just TV, guys. Enjoy it. Have fun watching it. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be something you just nitpick and just, complain and gripe about online. Yes, I know I have a YouTube channel where I'm talking about it and everything, and I'm probably going to gripe at times, but at the same time, I'm trying to enjoy the show, and it just gets really aggravating when all I see is negativity for both sides here. I just want to watch both shows and enjoy pro wrestling because that's what I've been doing since I was 10 years old. That's what I want to continue to do right now, especially with pro wrestling being as hot as it is at this point. We had another women's segment with Mina Sirikawa from Stardom versus Anna Jay. But the main story of this whole segment was the fact that Tony Storm come out to make the save on Mariah May after the match, and then of course she dropped her AEW Women's World Championship in the aisleway here in Jacksonville, and that's when Serena Deeb walked out, sat next to the title, and said that the next time she touches it, it's going to be because she earned it and she has it around her waist. So clearly they're setting up Serena Deeb versus Tony Storm. At AEW Double or Nothing, I think it'll be time for Timeless Tony Storm, despite the great run she's had, to drop the title to Serena Deeb, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Serena Deeb, coming back from a long hiatus, and of course, she's a great wrestler. I think she'd be great for the company. So I'm hoping she'll win the title here, and that would set up a bunch of new feuds as well. But Timeless Tony Storm has had a good run. Not sure. I mean, I don't know if they're actually going to take the title off of her, but that's what I would book it to be. But either way, I think it should be a fun match for Double or Nothing to go on top of the Mercedes Monet and Willow Nightingale match. So could be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see that, and I think the feud could be very entertaining. And speaking of the women, we also had a backstage segment with Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo. Once again, bickering back and forth. Sounds like we're going to get that match as well. So three strong women's feuds here on AEW. Which is good to see. Again, the criticism is always, there's not enough women's wrestling on AEW and in WWE. Let's be fair. Both companies struggle with that. AEW seems to have more women's pro wrestling in the ring than WWE does. But yeah, just good to see three strong feuds here. Can't wait to see where they all go. And hopefully they'll all be highlighted with the proper care and that they all deserve. And hopefully it'll lead to even more down the line once we get Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker back from injury as well. And perhaps we'll see Saraya and Ruby Soho when she comes back from her pregnancy and things like that. So a lot of potential here for AEW's women's division, and I think it's off on the right foot. One of the surprises on AEW Dynamite this week, we had a casino gauntlet match, which I got to admit to you, the whole concept of it was, two guys start in the ring, and then every so often another guy comes in, kind of like the Royal Rumble a little bit. But it was sudden death rules. So the first person to get a pinfall or submission would win the gauntlet match to then go on to AEW Double or Nothing to challenge Roderick Strong for the international championship here. But the concept was a little weird to me because they said upwards of 21 guys could be in this match. I think we got about 7 or 8 guys in, and Will Ospreay just won. So what happens to the other competitors who were in the gauntlet match? Do they just not get an opportunity now? That part was odd to me. I feel like if you're going to do that, you at least want to get all the competitors in the match before there's a sudden death aspect to it. But I liked it. It was new. They were trying something different. Didn't that part of it didn't quite hit for me, but I do like the surprise element of it. They said even on commentary that they didn't even know the match was coming and that they didn't even know who the participants were. They had some heavy hitters in this match. Obviously, Will Ospreay was the biggest surprise. Everybody thought he was going to be propelled right to the world title picture, but I think with Will Ospreay and AEW, it's a smart move for them to kind of slowly build him up to the world title with Swerve Strickland. Don't go after Swerve right away. You can save that match for All In London with Swerve and Ospreay if you build it correctly between now and then. Obviously, with Will Ospreay winning the Casino Gauntlet match, we're going to be getting him challenging Roderick Strong for the AEW International Championship at AEW Double or Nothing coming up on Memorial Day weekend on May 26th. So now we officially have 2 matches already signed, a few more also teased. So it's starting to take shape, the card already. We're a little over a month out from that show from Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. So yes, I'm looking forward to this show. It's a good show for me every year because I always go to the Indianapolis 500 on that Sunday. Sometimes a little too tired to watch it live, but I'll definitely be checking out AEW Double or Nothing probably on that Memorial Day when I have Monday off from work. So yes, it's very cool to see that the show is already starting to take place. So we're going to get a good solid month-long build here. And like I said, we've got a lot of other teases to what can be happening with Trent and Orange Cassidy, obviously with Tony Storm and Serena Deeb, as I mentioned, as well as Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo already kind of taking shape. We also got a couple more teases by the end of the show. So Yeah, definitely good start. I can't wait to see this. And Roderick Strong, interesting opponent for Will Ospreay. It looks like Will Ospreay's just going to kind of run the gamut here through the AEW roster a little bit. He's been having some great matches with a bunch of different talent ever since he came in, and he's about 6 matches in, and he's had great matches all the way around. And this Casino Gauntlet match was no different here. It was a fun match all the way around. Definitely fun to watch with the unpredictability of it. But I would just kind of maybe fine tune it a little bit. I like the concept. But it's kind of like, and they may not have any other guys ready to go for this match, and they planned it obviously to end with Will Ospreay winning. But it's just kind of like in my head, I'm going, there's probably about another 10 guys back here who didn't even get a shot at this. So interestingly enough, that's like an interesting concept. But I like what they tried to do here, and I'm glad that they're at least trying new things to see what works and what doesn't. After this, we kind of had a little bit of a weird segment here. We had Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree. Chris Jericho, no longer Lionheart, no longer some of his other monikers, the Ocho or the Le Champion. He is now the Learning Tree. Come out with a giant, tree up on the big screen, kind of like the tree from Loki that Loki kind of did at the end of Loki season 2. So it kind of looks something similar to that. But Jericho, obviously, wanting young guys to come to him for advice. He's definitely playing a baby face, like snarky, like heel character. It's interesting because he's obviously waving to the fans. He's smiling, like, obviously playing. He's being a bit of a troll, obviously, with all the fans booing him and wanting to retire and all that nonsense. I think it's a little bit overblown, in my opinion, like I mentioned before. Jericho's earned the right to decide when he wants to step aside as a pro wrestler, in my opinion. And I think we ought to give that to him. I mean, he's earned that, in my opinion. I mean, over the last 25 plus years or so of him doing pro wrestling, especially in the mainstream limelight here, I think it's worth. He just deserves that, in my opinion. So everybody just needs to kind of cut him some slack. But Big Bill, interestingly enough, come out and said that he wants to learn under the learning tree of Chris Jericho. So I know that Ricky Starks' contract is probably coming up before too much longer, and many people are speculating that he will probably end up in WWE since him and Cody Rhodes are good friends. So that makes a lot of sense that may be happening. It'd be a big loss for AEW because I think Ricky Starks is a wonderful talent, but he'll do a great job in WWE over there as well. So I'm happy for him if that's what happens. Love to see him return to AEW if that's the case. But the fact that Big Bill come out here, obviously, either that or Ricky Starks is more hurt than we initially thought. Because the last time we saw him, he kind of got banged up in a match. He kind of got knocked a little loopy and was a little knocked out, didn't kick out, and they had to, kind of go to the finish. So I hope Ricky Starks is doing all right. I know he said he was. So, but that's the day after. So hopefully nothing else has come up. But like I said, it could just very well be the fact that the contract is coming up soon. He may be going elsewhere. That would kind of suck. But for Big Bill, though, it's nice to see that AEW has still got something planned for him. He might be Jericho's heavy a little bit here. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see where this goes. Not so sure I'm sold on the whole learning tree gimmick just yet, but I want to see what they do with it. Like I said, I'm not booing Jericho out of the building and asking him to retire, but just intriguing to see where they go with it. I guess we'll just give it a little time. Probably the most least intriguing thing on the show, in my opinion. But they've got an idea. Let's see where they go with it, and let's give them a little bit of patience. Since most of the show was taken up by the Casino Gauntlet match, obviously we're already at the main event here with Jon Moxley defending his IWGP World Championship from New Japan Pro Wrestling against Powerhouse Will Hobbs. Powerhouse Will Hobbs looked as if he was possibly favoring a knee by the end of this match. Looks like he might have blown it out on the outside a little bit. Something he had a hard time putting some weight on it when it came to the finish here. So Moxley hit him with the finisher, and then of course got the pinfall. Well, actually, I believe he choked him out and all that. So after that, but yeah, so I'm hopeful that Will Hobbs is doing okay. Hopefully he will be all right. Hopefully it's not a major injury for him. But obviously this set up another member of the Don Callis family coming out and looking like that he wants to challenge for Jon Moxley's IWGP World Championship, possibly at Double or Nothing. And that was, of course, Konosuke Takeshita coming out here when his bell-bottom pants looks like, and he stared down Jon Moxley at the end of this segment. So this could be very fun. Both guys are very good wrestlers. Konosuke Takeshita obviously is very underrated. So I think it would be a great match. I guarantee you it would be fun to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing that at the pay-per-view. So like I said, some other teases. So it looks like the card is starting to shape out already, which a lot of times is kind of new for AEW, because sometimes they don't get into the matches until like a couple weeks out. It apparently sounds like Tony Khan's already got this card pretty well booked a whole month out. So we could be getting some more storylines and stuff built around these feuds. So hopefully that's what they end up doing. But of course, that all pales into comparison to what was the go home segment here. And that is, of course, throughout the show, we saw Jungle Boy Jack Perry, I guess no longer known as Jungle Boy, he showed up with the elite outside, and then of course they went to Tony Khan's locker room throughout the show, and I guess they left, and they said that Tony Khan was going to confront Jack Perry in the ring personally, which Tony Khan is normally not a major on-air character. A lot of fans are like, we don't want to see Tony Khan become a major on-screen presence like Vince McMahon has done over the years. And it wasn't just Vince McMahon. I mean, Eric Bischoff's done it. Dixie Carter did it in TNA. There's been many authority figures over the years who's been on air, and Tony Khan, to his credit, has not done that yet. So everybody complaining about like, oh God, he's going to become the next Vince McMahon. He's going to be on TV all the time. This is a one-time thing so far that I can tell. We'll see where this goes. But at the end of this show, Jack Perry comes out to confront Tony Khan. He looks like he's going to make amends with him. He shakes his hand, and Tony Khan pretty much reinstates him from a suspension from the All-In brawl with CM Punk. And of course, that's when Jack Perry gives him a shot to the stomach, and he falls down, which was not a very good sell by Tony Khan. You can tell he clearly doesn't do a lot of bumping in the ring. Definitely sold it like Stone Cold Steve Austin Stunner on Vince McMahon. So Tony Khan's got to work on that aspect of it if he's going to be a little bit more of an on-screen character. I don't see that happening though, because immediately after that, the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada come out acting like, yo, man, what are you doing? How could you possibly do that? Then it's, of course, when the Young Bucks teased an EVP trigger, but then they picked up Tony Khan and delivered a TK driver that's formerly known as the Meltzer driver onto Tony Khan here, and Tony Khan is destroyed by the Elite here. This is a big angle for AEW. The entire internet wrestling community has been complaining and complaining and complaining about Tony Khan's booking. Okay. Now, this obviously to me I don't think Tony Khan is giving up his booking power that I know of. They may be making some course corrections there. I don't know. But at least in storyline, it appears that Tony Khan is not going to be the booker anymore. And the Young Bucks, with their EVP powers, are going to be booking the show, at least on camera, moving forward. So, and if Tony Khan really wants to play this off, he needs to stay off social media, act like he's not booking anything, and maybe that's what they end up doing. I don't know, or he could be back on X tomorrow, posting all sorts of things. Who knows? Tony Khan obviously loves to, kind of promote his shows, and that's good. I want to have a promoter who is excited about the product and does want to sell it to the masses, because that's the way you're going to build your company. But all you internet fans who wanted to see him kind of take a step back, at least on camera, he's doing that. I don't know if that means he's maybe going to start delegating some of the storylines and creative to other people. I don't know. And who's to say he doesn't already do that to some degree anyway? He's got a lot of great wrestling minds in the back as it is. Now, I know he loves to book the matches, but sometimes, and I think a lot of times his matchmaking is great. Sometimes it's just the storylines building up to it can sometimes be a little weaker, but the pay-per-views are obviously stellar because he does a great job of booking those. But sometimes I do understand that perhaps the storytelling element could be a little bit more improved. So maybe we'll get that. I don't know. But this angle is a hot angle. Whether you like the Elite and the Young Bucks and Jack Perry and Okada or not, I think most people love Okada and they love Jack Perry. Some people don't like the Young Bucks. They think they booked themselves to win or whatever. Now, they did win the AEW Tag Team Championships at AEW Dynasty, but you got to remember, Ricky Starks getting knocked unconscious and things like that kind of threw a little bit of wrench in those plans. So they kind of had to make a decision, and they went with what was safe. And of course, being the heel tag team, the chase to kind of dethrone them will be more intriguing than to see FTR with those belts once again. So I understand why they did it. And this could always be leading to something even bigger, kind of like what WWE is doing with the Bloodline right now. You got a couple different factions of the Bloodline. We've got Solo Sokoa, and you've got Tama Tonga, and probably a couple others like Tongaloa and Jacob Fatu coming in, possibly even with The Rock teaming up against the old Bloodline and Roman Reigns and the Usos, maybe Sami Zayn, and who knows who else at Survivor Series War Games. This could be leading more to an Elite versus like Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and FTR. These two factions going against each other in blood and guts later this summer. So that could be where they're going with it. We'll have to wait and see, especially with Kenny Omega coming back next week, how that all plays into this. But yes, they're definitely building something here. They've had this plan for a while now, which again is why they released the all-in footage to begin with. It wasn't so much about setting the record straight, which it did help clarify a few things for sure, but it didn't really show us anything we didn't already know. But in this case, I really like the angle, and I really like the fact that Tony Khan put himself out there, again, playing with the Jack Perry angle, the fact that he suspended Jack Perry because of all this. So again, it just made narrative sense. This is a good angle, guys. Whether you guys want to crap all over it or not on the internet, this was good. There's nothing wrong with this, and it adds an element of intrigue, especially at the end of the show, where you even had an appearance by Tony Khan's father, Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be in. Obviously they're in Jacksonville this week due to the NFL draft. And Tony Khan is usually in the war room for the Jacksonville Jaguars along with his father. So this is the first time Shad Khan has showed up on AEW television. So it added an element of realism to it of like, is my son okay? So again, this was a big hot angle. This was good. Where this goes, I'm not 100% sure at this point, outside of the speculation of Omega, Hangman, and FTR versus the Young Bucks, Okada, and Perry. That could be where they're going with it in the long run. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I just thought this was very fun. And obviously, the look that Jack Perry gave the camera when he was hugging Tony Khan was absolutely outstanding. This is definitely reminiscent of Christian Cage with the whole "go f yourself" line to Adam Copeland. So yes, this was good. And Jack Perry is over right now. He is absolutely popular with the crowd. He had a great showing in New Japan and especially the Chicago show they had recently, and he got a huge pop at AEW Dynasty when he helped the Bucks win the tag team titles. So yes, this is great, and I like I said, I just feel like everybody needs to calm down when it comes to AEW, and their booking. I think they're doing good things over there. You don't have to like it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. Just watch WWE. WWE is doing great things right now too, but don't try to poo on everybody's parade that actually enjoy AEW because some of us do like the show. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's all I'm saying. And I hope you guys will, and I'm sure hopefully most of you who watch my channel will give both of them a fair shake because they're both doing good things. That's all I want. But the funny thing about this was after the show, I guess the NFL on NFL.com actually were even keeping kayfabe alive here because they reported on the fact that Tony Khan's status for the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 NFL draft, his obligations for that could be questionable because they referenced what happened here tonight, whether or not he would be able to be in the war room tonight for the draft. Once you're seeing this show air, it will be this evening. So interestingly enough that they did that. Now, obviously, this is why I want Tony Khan to be looking in the war room. If Tony Khan shows up in the war room for the Jacksonville Jaguars wearing a neck brace and selling the effects, possibly even on a crutch or something, from this TK driver here from the Young Bucks, that would be outstanding. I will lose my mind on the podcast Friday when we discuss it. When we go over our NFL draft and WWE draft special there on the podcast, on the Dragon's Den podcast here on Friday night. So yes, I hope that's what he does. If he does, that'll be absolutely outstanding, and I think it could be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. But yeah, so that kind of covers AEW for this week. But what did you guys think about this week's shows? Were you excited for AEW Dynasty? Did you like the ending angle with Tony Khan on AEW Dynamite? Do you think it adds an element of intrigue? It definitely got me excited to see next week's show and even this Saturday to see what the update is and what they're going to be doing with that moving forward with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks apparently taking power in AEW, and they're going to be more on-screen authority figures from the sounds of things. So that could be intriguing to see what they do with it, especially as a heel authority figure. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And until my next video, guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and God bless.